Anteriormente, en los tres de West Memphis.
First of all, I'm innocent of murder Christopher Byers, Michael Moore, and Stevie Branch. However, after serving 18 years in the penitentiary for such, I agree that it was in the state's best interest as well as my own, that based upon the North Carolina versus Alford, that I plead guilty of first-degree murder for those crimes.
From the moment they told me Stevie was dead, I really lost all touch of reality.
It appears satanic worship may have played a role in the murders. Since the very beginning of the investigation, people all around West Memphis have come forward with stories of satanic cults.
I do know that my youth director talked to Damien extensively after revival that we had, and he told him that he could not be saved, that he could not give his heart to Jesus. And my youth director then tried to get him to take a Bible, and he made the statement that he could not take a Bible because if he did, the rest of them would get him.
They found my son's testicles in a jar of alcohol in Damien Echols' house with his fingerprints on the jar. Now, how do you dispute that?
Jessie Misskelley Jr., Jason Baldwin, Damien Echols, I hope your master, the devil, does take you soon. I want you to meet him real soon.
My name's Todd Moore. My son was Michael Moore. He was murdered along with Christopher Byers and Stevie Branch May 5th, 1993. I cannot describe the pain that my family has went through. You know, they didn't just kill my son, they killed part of me. They killed a part of my wife, our daughter. I'm so frustrated because it seems like they have so much rights. We have no rights, like it had in the paper the other day. Now, taxpayers of Crittenden County are going to have to buy them a suit because they don't want them to go into court looking like what they are, criminals. They're in jail. They should wear jail clothes. Why do they need to have a nice suit bought by the county so they look presentable? They don't want them in shackles and chains. You know, these are not boys that murdered our kids. You know, they stopped being boys, you know, when they planned this. And I sit there and watch their parents and stuff coming out of court crying, talking about their son's rights. What about our son's rights? Where in the hell was his rights out on that ditch bank? He had no rights. He had the rights to be brutally murdered, be beat to death, an 8-year-old little boy. Where was his rights?
I'm Diane Moore, Michael Moore's mother. Last week in Flash Market, the Echols man was in there, staring me down. Like it was my fault that I had a child that his child could murder. We set that big star, we seen the people that are supporting these people, that look at us like we're scum, and these other people are just the greatest thing that they've ever known. And now they want to have them all just dressed up and act like little choir boys in court, and here you go. He didn't do anything wrong. My son didn't do anything wrong. He's just a boy.
I can't imagine what was going through Michael's mind. You know, was he calling for me? How long did they leave him there tied up on that ditch bank before they decided to kill him? What were they doing to him?
Was he conscious or unconscious? Did he watch the other two boys get cut?
He was really being killed by real monsters.
If you could speak to the families of these kids who think you did it, you know, what would you say to them?
If I could talk to the families of the victims right now, I don't know really what I'd say. Just they were led to believe by the police that we done it, and so I understand that they hate us, you know, hate me, but I didn't do it, you know. I didn't have anything to do with it. I'm sorry that your kids are dead. I'm sorry about that. Really sorry about all that, because I don't have a kid, but if it was like my little brother, I'd be real angry at whoever done it. But all I ask is y'all go back and look at the evidence. Just stop and think, and don't let your emotions about it all get to your head, and just stop and think and look back at the evidence and look where the evidence does point, and ask yourself, now who do you think really done it? You know, because it's a great tragedy that your kids was killed, but it's also another great tragedy that American citizens, anybody, today's public, can just be picked up for a crime they didn't commit and be convicted of it without no evidence. That's another tragedy.
Eat it up.
You know, one thing I like about this right here, black powder gun, is they can't pull any type of ballistics on it. If by some chance you was to shoot something with it, every bullet rifles through the chamber just a little bit different. So they just can't pull no ballistics off this one. There's a few people I wouldn't mind going on shooting with it, but hopefully the courts and the justice system take care of them. But they reach prison, they gonna get took care of. I'd say this one here is for you, Jessie, and we gonna go for the jug of water. Oh, Jessie, I done blowed you half in two, son. Now, this one here is for you, Damien. You that black circle right in the middle. Oh, you got hurt.
Damn, that sure looked painful, didn't it?
Yeah, hey, Jason, I want you to smile and blow me a kiss for this one. I'd be happy with lining them up. I wouldn't have no problem with it. I think old Jessie's still kicking a little. Y'all go ahead and put him out of his misery.
What kind of range we got in the courtroom?
Probably about 10 foot right here. That's good. Go ahead, he's wiggling. All right. Oh, I can live with that.
Christopher never hurt anybody. He had a gentle, loving, and giving heart. And they crucified him in those woods. And they humiliated his little body. They took his little manhood before he even knew what it was. And I hate them for it. I've never hated anybody in my life. And I hate these three. And the mothers that bore them.
Now, you're aware that you're here to take a polygraph test today.
Yes, sir.
And this is concerning the deaths of 3 boys.
Yes.
At West Memphis in 1993.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're also aware that an audio and video record has been made of this procedure.
Correct, sir.
And you got any problem with that?
No, sir.
If you do, I want to know about it now because I don't want anything bothering you.
I don't have any problem.
Okay, that sounds good to me. Mark, what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about what happened in West Memphis. We're going to talk about you, where you come from, who you are.
Okay, sir.
Damien Echols quit talking to reporters after getting warnings from his attorneys. Last week, Echols said Mark Byers committed the murders.
Did it come as a surprise, Mark?
We don't have any comment.
He's got knowledge about the area. He knows when the search is over with. He's big enough that he can carry the boys there and throw them in. His son was the only one mutilated. The other 2 weren't mutilated. All of the pieces fit together with a person like Byers.
After the sentencing, the mother and stepfather of Christopher Byers moved out of West Memphis. Echols claims Byers is the real killer.
I would say basically in a fit of anger, he killed them.
He's got to be the biggest pathological liar. I hope he rots and burns in hell for eternity. I hate his guts more than anything on the face of the earth.
The murders of 3 West Memphis boys last year shocked all of Region 8. During the trials earlier this year, we empathized with the parents and relatives of those little boys.
And because of television, we were able to see and hear the emotions those parents were going through. Now the parents of one of the boys find themselves once again under public scrutiny. Jenna?
Since the trials, the Byers moved from West Memphis to Cherokee Village. Now they say they wanted to start a new life, but now they face criminal charges.
They're accused of taking $20,000 worth of property from a neighbor's house. Police have witnesses who claim they saw the Byers loading stolen items into their pickup truck, and when police searched the Byers house, they found a few of them.
Mark and Melissa Byers face additional charges in their old hometown. West Memphis police have 13 warrants for the Byers for allegedly writing over $700 in bad checks. The Byers also face other charges.
When they moved to Cherokee Village, the Byers became good friends with their neighbors, John and Donna Kingsbury. Problems began when Mark spanked the Kingsburys' 5-year-old.
I took the fly swatter and I just the plastic end, just on the back of his blue jeans. And I said, now you get home, you've been a bad boy.
We did have to have a restraining order put on them because I was worried about my family.
Mark Byers' problems began in July. He's been charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Police say he stood by holding a gun and allowed a teenaged friend to assault John Shaver Jr. According to a police report, the teenager used a closed pocket knife in his fist to assault Shaver. The fight sent Shaver to the hospital with a concussion. Byers admits the knife was his. He also admits there was a gun in his car. The Shavers say Byers used the gun to prevent bystanders from stopping the fight.
I think I'd be extremely...
Shaver's father believes this raises serious questions about Byers.
You know, there's a lot of people that's talked to me about it, which I hate to say it, but they think maybe he might have had something to do with those murders.
Mark Byers says that's ridiculous. But these charges and the questions they dredge up may stick with this family forever.
Did you ever want to hurt somebody?
Yes, sir. There's 3 people right now I'd like to hurt.
With the exception of those 3 people?
No, sir.
People are placing a lot of emphasis on Mark and could he have been a suspect? And there again, it's the same question that was asked to me, did we pick Damien up because he looked weird? Well, are we accusing Mark Byers because he has a ponytail and looks a little weird and he's a big kind of guy and and is kind of boisterous. I mean, is that why he's labeled as having something to do with it? No. You have to look at the facts, and the facts are the 3 that we arrested and that have been convicted are the ones that did this. Mark Byers didn't have anything to do with this crime at all.
As I look at all these dark clouds roaming in on me today, it can very easily remind me of May 5th, 1993. This half was a bright, sunshiny day. This half became gloom and doom. And as the death and destruction rolled into West Memphis, Arkansas and consumed 3 babies' life and killed them, it's kind of like this cloud front is rolling in and cooling off today and consuming me as I stand here in the wind amidst the storm. But I'm still here. Jessie, Jason, Damien, those names ring in my ears daily. And I still hate you. Forever and a day shall I still hate you.
Byers, when he's running around cussing me and telling me that I should go to hell and stuff, seems like he's play acting, you know, trying to divert the attention, trying to play the role that he should be of an angered parent. When really, I believe he's the one that did it.
Now, a few of the Byers neighbors say they now have questions about Mark Byers and the West Memphis murders.
These are for you, Melissa.
Byers' wife did die recently. An autopsy showed small amounts of drugs in her body, but nothing that should have caused her death. So that death remains a mystery.
Now, Mark, are you married?
No, sir, I'm widowed. My wife passed away March 29th of 96.
I'm sorry to hear that. March 29th of 96. Where was this at?
In Cherokee Village.
Cherokee Village. A natural death?
Cause of death undeterminable.
What do you have any feelings about it? I mean...
Yes, sir.
What are that, if you want to reveal it to me?
My wife had given up her will to live after our baby was murdered, and she just didn't want to live anymore, and she got into an addiction, and I think the addiction helped
Drugs?
kill her. Yes, sir.
What type?
Delata.
I can never put into words how much I loved you. You were everything to me. You were my life. I lived to see you smile. Those animals killed you. They're evil animals, and they killed you, and I blame them for your death. And all for you morons, infidels, and fools that think I had anything to do with it. Go to hell! Go to hell!
I can't understand why exactly people are glossing over the obvious when it comes to Byers and the death of Melissa Byers and all the things that Byers has said and done since this trial. I think maybe for the general public, it's not quite as scary to believe that bloodthirsty Satanists were out murdering children as it is to believe that parents are actually murdering their own children.
For 14 years, John Mark Byers was convinced he knew who tied up and killed his 8-year-old son and 2 other Cub Scouts in a brutal mutilation murder. Now, Byers and the state of Arkansas have been shown new evidence that the father tells ABC News has changed his mind about the guilt of the 3 boys known as the West Memphis 3.
I hated you. I believed with all my heart you killed my son. And I'm sorry for that.
The question is, why am I so different now than years back? Coming to deal with things, coming to deal with that I know I did all I could to keep Christopher safe, that it wasn't my fault. No, I wasn't a perfect dad, but I did the best I could. I'm just a country boy from Mark Tree, that you killed my son, you made me madder than hell, and I want to kick somebody's ass. Burn and go to hell! But what's right and what's wrong are two different things. And the right thing is that these three men are innocent. That's the right thing. And yes, it was hard for me to stand up and admit that I was wrong. But wrong is wrong. That's the letter from Damien Echols, Varner Unit, P.O. Box 400, Grady, Arkansas. Dear John, first I want to start off by apologizing to you. I know how it feels to be accused of something you didn't do. Now, these years later, I see just how wrong I was, and I'm sorry. I did the same thing to you that everyone else did to me. The second thing I want to say is thank you. I know it can't have been easy to put aside all of your emotions and look at the evidence with cold, hard logic, but you did. I can't help but believe there is a reason for all of this for both of us. Take care and know that my thoughts are with you. Damien Echols.
God. Oh, TV.
Now, Pam, first of all, what are you holding in your hand?
In my hand, it's Stevie's Boy Scout. I got it back yesterday, and I've been wearing it around my head, like this.
Did he like scouting?
Oh, he loved it. He loved it. Yeah, he loved it.
Do you blame yourself for this?
I have. I have been on a guilt trip about it, but it wasn't my fault. I was at work.
Have you contemplated joining Stevie before your natural?
Right now.
Have you thought about suicide?
Have I? Suicide? I felt like dying, but not suicide. You know, no, not suicide.
Do you feel that the people that did this were worshiping
Satan? Yes, I do.
Why?
And just look at the freaks. I mean, just look at them. They look like punks. I believe they did it, and if they were to be set free on the street, then they would have to look behind their back, watch behind their back to see if Pam Hobbs wasn't following them, because I'm just saying this as a human, you know. I believe I'd try to kill them too, if they ever walked the street and I'm still alive. I believe I'd be stalking them to do to them. Probably shoot them and then cut them up.
When I was down at the courtroom and Damien walked past me, I wanted to just go over there and take my hand and just claw down his face. Inflict any kind of pain that I could inflict on him.
I know eventually we're going to have to forgive him. I know that, and I understand that. But when it happens in your home and you watch your wife lose her mind, you know, whatever happened to her, your home is tore apart, busted up. I don't feel it's fair right now for someone to ask me to forgive the ones that caused it.
It'd take some time, a long time, before I could forgive them.
You say that it's going to take time. We don't know how much time we got. Pam, we wouldn't be able to see Stevie again. We have to forgive in our heart because the Lord forgave us. He forgave us. He shedded his blood for us. He shedded his blood for them. And he just asked us to have a forgiving spirit. And I refuse to serve sin and Satan because I'm going to see Stevie again. I'm going to be with Stevie again. I'm going to be with my mother again. I'm going to be with her mother, your grandmother, both of them. I'm going to be with all of my loved ones that have passed on and went to heaven.
From the Mid-South's news leader.
Convicted West Memphis child murderer Damien Echols gives an exclusive interview to Action News 5.
I think if they were capable, the public would probably form a lynch mob and come get me.
Damien Echols says he was railroaded by the police, prosecutors, and the judge.
Mr. Echols, you were remanded to the custody.
It's been painful for the mother and stepfather of Stevie Branch to watch Damien Echols. They'd prefer he get no attention.
I'm glad he's in pain and miserable, all that. I'm glad he's just so messed up, and I would like to see prison kill him.
I was a step-parent back in 1993 when this happened. I was a good step-parent, and to watch it all go away on account of this, you lose your life to a degree.
Steve's death was so difficult for Pam to accept that other problems resulted. She separated from her husband and moved here to her parents' home in Blytheville.
A crime of this nature will take a toll on anybody, and I have seen this happen to our home.
We had quite a few arguments and stuff because I couldn't let go. He told me I had to let it go, I had to keep living, and I told him I was still in that ditch just as much as my son was, and I was clawing my way out of it the best way that I knew how.
Stevie had a belt mark on him, and I asked Pam who whipped him. I thought maybe she had, and she said Terry did. She didn't want to tell me at first, but she finally told me. Stevie never would tell us, because I guess he's afraid he'd get beat to death or whatever when he got home.
I lived with him. I was around him off and on. It was a happy time. I've got pictures. You know, everybody's smiling, everybody's happy, everybody's swimming, everybody's having a good time. There was no fighting and screaming and hollering and beating the kids and stuff like that. I can't say I wish he wouldn't have married her. I can now. Back then, I didn't know her enough to say, ew, but I do now, so ew.
Somebody testifies that they saw you with the boys that night.
Do what?
If somebody testified that they saw you and the boys, would they be lying?
Mm-hmm. They would be lying.
Because you never found the boys?
No, I never found them.
Never found them alive?
Never found them at all.
Okay. So if someone were to testify that they saw the three little boys standing behind you on the evening of May the 5th, prior to the time that you went to pick up Pam, they'd be mistaken.
Most definitely. I can't wait to hear that one.
Stevie Branch lived 3 houses down from our house, and they came through right here. They zoomed through. There used to be a bunch of bushes right here, and they all zoomed through and went down the sidewalk. We came outside to go to church at 6:30, and I yelled at Christopher to go home, and he said, I don't have to do what you tell me to do. And I said, okay, whatever, you know, and we got in the car to go to church. But I saw Terry coming down the sidewalk here, coming this direction, and he was calling for Stephen to come back down to their house. And we got in the car and left, but they were together when we went past them. As we were driving by, Stephen was on his bike riding, and Christopher and Michael were running behind him. They were laughing, they were having fun like every time I've ever seen them before. They were just having fun like any other regular day. And we drove by, they were right here near Terry's house. He was standing outside calling for Stephen, and they were still laughing. They were laughing right here. And I will never forget that. As we drove by, that was the last time we saw them. The police or no one ever came by our house. We kind of thought they might because we lived 3 doors down, but no one ever came by. This past year, they were making a big deal about the tip line on our news. And I think I heard a long time ago that they went missing at like 6 o'clock. I said to myself, I think that they need to know that they were around our house playing at 6:30. They were over here in this neighborhood. I thought that Terry would tell them that he was with the boys that day. I never knew until this year that he was saying that he didn't see them at all. He's not telling the truth. He was out there with them.
I went over to see if David would help me look for the 3 little boys.
Pretty Woman, Roy Orbison. I handed him my guitar and asked him to play that part of that song again so I could get it down, and we did that 2 or 3 times, you know, before I finally got it right. So, you know, a little time went by, and he says, well, you know, I need to go look for Stevie. And I said, Terry, let me know where you find him.
I wasn't even aware that he went to David Jacoby's. According to Terry, he was walking the streets and searching the whole night, so that was news to me when I found out.
But it appears that the West Memphis Police Department and the prosecutors have never looked at Terry Hobbs, one of the stepfathers of one of the victims, seriously as being a person of interest or even a possible suspect in this case. And I know you've been gone for a long time. Do you have any understanding of why that is or any explanation of why that would be?
I really can't comment on it.
You're uncomfortable talking about what actually transpired in that investigation. Why is that?
And the reason I am uncomfortable is there is a wealth of money supporting the West Memphis 3 in getting them out of jail. Now, I believe personally they're guilty of the crime. 2 juries said they were guilty of it.
These people here who were never interviewed, and they were just neighbors of Hobbs. Hobbs wasn't interviewed. They didn't do a neighborhood around. They'll swear on a stack of Bibles that they saw Terry Hobbs with the 3 children around 6:30.
I don't know how many years before anybody had asked me anything about it, too. At the time, I wasn't looking for 3 murdered kids. I was helping my friend look for his kid, and who happened to be with another kid, who happened to be with another kid. So, I mean, what upsets me is I gotta stop it again. Here it goes. It just gets me that he didn't come back, you know? Look, why do you not come back to your friend's house to help you if you can't find your kid?
Yeah.
I stopped myself from saying that he did it, you know, in all these years. I've actually, you know, said he couldn't. It gets to the point I'd give my life to know the fucking truth. But I've been that little kid, you know.
You've been that step child.
Kid, yeah, you know.
Terry Hobbs said to everyone that he was very concerned when Stevie Branch didn't come home at 4:30 that night. If he was so worried at 4:30, why didn't he call Stevie's mom when he does finally tell her 9 o'clock, almost 5 hours later?
Pam sure as heck thinks she did it, doesn't she?
Think who did what?
She thinks she killed Stevie.
She thinks who killed Stevie?
You.
No.
She doesn't think that?
No.
She doesn't think you were involved?
No.
I know Stevie asked me about 2 weeks before he was murdered to leave Terry, and I asked him why, and he said he loves Amanda, but he don't love me. I feel like I'm putting the pieces of a puzzle together, and I'm so scared. Talking to Terry over things that's happened and all that. They did their job. They got the right ones and all this. I just want the truth. I want the answers.
We really didn't know a whole lot about Stevie because Stevie's life was kind of confusing.
These are the photographs of Stevie Branch.
You had his father, Stevie, and his biological father.
Those injuries in here, we can also...
You had Pam, and then you had Terry. Other than the fact that nothing's there was nothing that would raise any flags. Saturday morning, and it was raining out, I remember, and we showed up at his house early, and he opened the door. We told him who we were. He said, "I've been expecting y'all." I'll never forget. It was like, "Come on in." I remember, I mean, we sat there with him for a while, and he was a likable enough guy. He really was. He talked about their life and how their life was. He didn't talk a whole lot about Pam. I think they were fighting at the time. And he didn't talk really about Amanda at all. He interviewed with us. He told us where he was. He said that was the first time he'd ever told anyone his whereabouts. So we waited in the living room while he was in the bathroom, I assume, and that's when I took the cigarette butts out of the ashtray.
The biggest bombshell of the new defense investigation is that an unexplained hair that could be from another victim's stepfather was found on shoelaces at the crime scene.
Hobbs tells me tonight, quote, "I don't have anything to hide. I'll answer any questions."
Mr. Hobbs, do you feel like that the attorneys are accusing you of this crime?
The answer to that would be no.
Is it possible, Mr. Hobbs, that that was your hair?
Sure. It was his son, Stephen Branch, who was murdered, and he's had to deal with this for the last 15 years.
I've been asked, do you think you're doing to Terry Hobbs what was done to you? No, no, no. I'm talking about facts. I'm talking about DNA. I'm talking about no alibi. I'm talking about lies after lies after lies.
Defense attorneys announced they had new DNA evidence that shows no trace of Echols or the other defendants at the crime scene. Even some of the victims' relatives who initially agreed with the verdicts.
That's why all three of them are punks. Punks!
Now think the men in jail are innocent.
I would like to see another trial, give them a fair trial, present the evidence that really wasn't presented in the other trials, and if they're guilty, so be it. That's where they stay. But if they're not, God, don't put somebody to death because, oops.